Hello and welcome to UzReport World News, and my name is Bahram Gaffarov. Uzbekistan is intending to join the global race to carbon neutrality by 2050, Energy Ministry said January 29, in cooperation with the Ministry of Investment and Foreign Trade, with the support of the EBRD and the government of Japan. Uzbekistan has involved a consortium of international experts to work out a roadmap to explore the possibility of creating a carbon-neutral electricity generation sector.
The roadmap is based on extensive analysis that reflects various existing government actions in this area, including the Uzbek government's energy policy and growth forecasts, as well as model assumptions tested by relevant key stakeholders. The analysis takes into account the strategy of the energy sector until 2030 and the fuel restrictions laid down in it. The roadmap presents a comprehensive assessment of the energy sector in Uzbekistan, including an assessment of the need for investment. Uzbekistan will be one of the few developing Asian countries to openly pledge a fossil fuel emissions reduction target. Among the region's more developed economies, Japan, South Korea, and Hong Kong have said they will meet the same goal by 2050. China's target year is 2060, and Singapore's commitment is for the same year, but it is shooting at halving emissions from what they will be in 2030. Uzbekistan is taking active action on climate change issues in the context of its contribution to achieving the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement. The electricity generation sector is the backbone of the economy and is responsible for a significant share of the country's greenhouse gas emissions. Thus, the decarbonization of electricity production will play a crucial role in achieving Uzbekistan's climate goals. Uzbekistan has already outlined an ambitious program for the development of renewable energy in the 2020-2030 concept, Energy Ministry said in a statement. The country also set a target of reducing its reliance on thermal power electricity generation to 50% by 2030. It currently relies on thermal sources for more than 80% of its energy needs. Meanwhile, the president of neighboring Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, declared his country's goal in December, according to which Kazakhstan is set to become carbon neutral by 2060.
Uzbekistan has recorded its first case of the British strain of coronavirus. Deputy Health Minister Bahadur Yusupaliyev confirmed the case on Saturday. The test of a 10-year-old girl confirmed the presence of an additional mutation specific to the British strain in the genome of one of the mutated samples, he said, adding that the girl traveled to the United Arab Emirates with her family last week. Currently, the patient's condition is stable and she was allowed self-isolation at home. The Ministry of Health urged people to remain vigilant, regularly wear medical masks, maintain social distance, and not break daily habits such as regular hand washing. On the same day, Uzbekistan extended restrictions on the aid traffic with 8 countries until March 1st this year. The ban concerns the flights to and from the United Kingdom, Italy, Germany, Denmark, Austria, Australia, the Netherlands, and South Africa. The Export-Import Bank of Korea has announced signed a $160 million loan agreement with Uzbekistan's Ministry of Finance. Funds are expected to be channeled through the Economic Development Cooperation Fund program of the Korean government.
Some $120 million of the amount will be used to build Tashkent General Hospital, with the remaining part to be spent on constructing a chemical R&D center. The loan agreement was signed on the occasion of a Korea-Uzbek high-level summit held through a video conference on the same day. Presidents of both countries have agreed to launch negotiations for a bilateral free trade agreement.
The delegation, chaired by the advisor to the Prime Minister on Commerce and Investment, Abdulrazak Davud, arrived in Uzbekistan on Sunday. The visit is a follow-up to a trip of Uzbekistan's Deputy Prime Minister Sardar Umurzakov on 10th September 2020.
The parties have agreed to initiate negotiations on a Pakistan-Uzbekistan preferential trade agreement. As part of the Pakistan's delegation visit, it is planned to conduct the first meeting of the Special Uzbek-Pakistani Joint Working Group on Trade and Economic Affairs. The delegation will also take part in a meeting of a trilateral Uzbek-Afghani-Pakistani Working Group on the implementation of a Mazar-i-Sharif-Kabul-Peshawar railway project. In addition, Abdulrazak Davud and his entourage will visit Samarkand, where they will make a pilgrimage to Islamic shrines as well as get acquainted with the historical and architectural sites of the ancient city.
UzReport TV news agency and Racing City Group owner Maurice Pagnello have inked a memorandum of cooperation with the aim of developing football in Uzbekistan. The Spanish company will seek talented players within the framework of Genoa program.
Well, today is a historic event for us, for our company. It's the first time we've come to Uzbekistan to do business, football business and events. We started with a football academy, which we have 18,000 students around the world, Canada, Australia, Mexico, Asia, Europe and Emirates. So this is the first time we've come to do business here, to find talented players. And also publicize the football game. We've started a collaboration now with Uzreport, which is a popular channel here, one of the biggest sports channels here, and companies that promote sports. And we are in the football business, so we are here to do events and bring out famous stars and development for the football of this country.
Maurice Pinello is an ex-footballer, an agent of Football Academy, as well as owner of football clubs around the world. On January 28, as a part of the same project, Maurice held a meeting with the former World Cup referee Ravshan Irmatov. Fernando Morientes, a football player of Spanish Real Madrid, is expected to arrive in Uzbekistan in February. His visit was organized jointly with the football club Oktepa and Uzreport TV.
Hola amigos, soy Fernando Morientes. Vamos a vernos muy pronto en Uzreport TV y vamos a hacer una entrevista en la que voy a contestar todas las preguntas que tengáis. Nos vemos pronto. Hasta luego.
Uzbekistan plans to hold the Integrated Nuclear Infrastructure Review mission in cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. More than 20 international experts are planned to be involved in the program. The decision was reached after several meetings with IAEA delegation headed by the Deputy Director General Massimo Aparo. The agency expressed its readiness to provide full assistance at all stages of the creation of nuclear industry of Uzbekistan. The mission has set a plan to carry out a comprehensive assessment of the nuclear infrastructure of Uzbekistan in April 2021. Uzbekistan is cooperating with UNICEF to improve social protection programs of the Unified Register. Thus, the Ministry of Finance hosted a meeting attended by the Deputy Finance Minister Ahadbek Haydarov and UNICEF representative in Uzbekistan Munir Mohammadzadeh. The sides discussed the program of technical assistance.
As an outcome, more than 300 units of office equipment were transferred to the Extra Budgetary Pension Fund under the Ministry of Finance, which will be used to improve the work of the Unified Register of Social Protection, an information system that optimizes the process of electronic distribution of social benefits. We are pleased to transfer this equipment to the Ministry of Finance and continue to provide assistance in expanding the activities of the single register, which is expected to lead effective management of the fair distribution of financial assistance to needy families and children. Munir Mohammadzadeh said the Unified Register of Social Protection was originally launched in Sirdarya region in 2019. Then, by the end of 2020, the registry was deployed in all regions of the country. Currently, the Unified Register covers social benefits for low-income families with children.
Former President Donald Trump's two lead impeachment lawyers abruptly left his legal defense team on Saturday, less than 2 weeks away from his upcoming Senate trial. A source familiar with the situation described the departures of Butch Bowers and Deborah Barbary as a mutual decision, but it leaves Trump's legal strategy in disarray, as another source said 3 other lawyers associated with the team also parted ways with Trump. A third source said Trump had differences with Bauer over strategy ahead of the trial, as the former president clings to his view that he was the victim of mass election fraud in the 2020 election, which President Joe Biden won. The House of Representatives impeached Trump earlier this month on a charge of incitement of insurrection after he encouraged his supporters to fight his election defeat just before the deadly January 6th assault on the Capitol.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
It was unclear who would now represent the former president at the trial, which starts on February 9th. But with or without a defense team, Trump is unlikely to be convicted at his trial after 45 Senate Republicans backed a failed effort last week to dismiss the trial altogether. A 2/3 majority in the 100-member chamber is needed to convict Trump.
10 moderate Republican senators urged President Joe Biden to significantly downsize his $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package on Sunday, floating a plan of their own amounting to roughly $600 billion as a bipartisan alternative to the Democratic president's plan.
We have to act now.
In a letter to Biden, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Mitt Romney, Rob Portman, and 6 other Republican senators asked Biden for a meeting, saying their counterproposal could be quickly passed with bipartisan support, promising more details on Monday.
We face deep challenges.
Cedric Richmond, a senior advisor to the president and former Louisiana representative, said on CBS's Face the Nation on Sunday that Biden was open to meeting with Republicans, but said he was not willing to accept a piecemeal approach.
Yes, he is very willing to meet with anyone to advance the agenda. But look, this is about seriousness of purpose. This is about meeting the moment. And this crisis is enormous, and our response to it meets that challenge. And we're not going to leave anybody behind.
The 10 Republicans said their proposal sought more targeted assistance for families in need and additional funds for small businesses, offering stimulus checks starting at $1,000 rather than the $1,400 checks Biden's plan includes. But the GOP proposal echoes Biden's plan for more funding to boost vaccines and testing, as well as support for schools and child care centers. The new relief legislation offers an early test of Biden's promise to work to bridge the partisan divide in Washington. Democrats in Congress are preparing to push ahead with his plan and seeking to make use of their control of the House and Senate to move quickly on the president's top goal of addressing the pandemic.
We must move forward on a COVID-19 relief bill.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said on Sunday that his chamber would begin work on it as early as this week, with the Senate split 50-50 and Vice President Kamala Harris wielding the tie-breaking vote. Democrats are considering using a parliamentary tool called reconciliation that would allow the chamber to approve Biden's relief package with a simple majority.
Myanmar's military seized power on Monday in a coup against the democratically elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi. Other senior figures from the country's ruling party were detained in what the party's spokesman called an early morning raid. On military-owned TV, the Myanmar army declared a state of emergency and said it carried out detentions in response to election fraud. Dozens of soldiers were around the city hall in major city Yangon shortly after the reported arrests. Phone lines to the nation's capital, Nay Pyi Taw, were not reachable immediately after. Parliament had been set to start there on Monday after a November election. State-run television MRTV showed no signal and said in a Facebook post it had stopped its broadcast due to technical issues. A ruling party lawmaker who requested anonymity for fear of retaliation said Han Tar Myint, a member of the party's Central Executive Committee, was among those detained. A military spokesman did not answer phone calls seeking comment. The arrests come after last November's election, which gave Suu Kyi's party, the National League for Democracy, a landslide victory. The military, which controls key positions in parliament and Suu Kyi's administration, has called the election fraudulent. But they promised over the weekend to protect and uphold the Constitution, after suggesting earlier that week they would abolish it, raising fears of a coup. Meanwhile, Myanmar's election commission has rejected the military's allegations of vote fraud. Suu Kyi came to power in 2015 in a landslide election, following decades of military house arrest in a struggle for democracy. She had won the Nobel Peace Prize for her effort, but her international standing was damaged after hundreds of thousands of the Rohingya people fled military violence in 2017. At home, she still remains widely popular. Australia's leader says Microsoft is confident its search engine Bing can fill the gap left by Google if Google pulls out of the country. Australia introduced laws that would force tech giants to negotiate payments with Australian media outlets whose content drives traffic to their platforms. Both Facebook and Google have called the laws unreasonable, and last month they threatened to pull key services from Australia if the regulations went ahead. Google said they would withdraw their search engine, which according to industry data accounts for 94% of the country's search market. Bing is a distant number 2 in the market. Microsoft told Reuters that its CEO, Satya Nadella, has since spoken with Prime Minister Scott Morrison. And on Monday, Morrison said Microsoft was ready to step in with Bing, with respect for the new rules.
What's important to Australia, I think, is that we set the rules that are right for our people. And having a news environment in this country that is one that is sustainable and is supported commercially, then this is vital to how democracies function.
A Google representative was not immediately available for comment, while Australia's treasurer said that Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg had requested a meeting over the new regulations, though Zuckerberg also said he would not back down from their disagreement.
Finland is laying claim to the first carbon-neutral ice hockey team in the world. Europe's green capital of the year, the small Finnish city of Lahti, is the home of the Lahti Pelicans. The team proudly debuted their new Green City jerseys during a recent fixture. They feature environmental commitments and stats in replacement of their regular player numbers. But their quest to become carbon neutral involves a lot more than just a wardrobe change. The team has already given up all air travel, and they're encouraging their fans to travel to watch their games by public transport, bike or on foot. The club's home arena runs off only green energy, and all restaurants at the arena offer locally produced food and plastic-free packaging. Of course, the Lahti Pelicans aren't the only sports stars committed to combating climate change. English soccer team Forest Green Rovers became the world's first United Nations certified carbon-neutral soccer club in 2018. They were also the world's only vegan soccer club after making the switch to a plant-based diet for all players, staff and events. In 2020, World Athletics vowed to become carbon neutral by 2030. Formula One said it hopes to have a zero carbon footprint by 2030 as well.
Wallowing in a pool of nostalgia for times and vehicles past. Hundreds of classic and vintage cars brought a touch of extra style to Paris on Sunday. Around 700 vehicles of various eras took part in the 21st winter crossing of the French capital. This man says, "The reason I take part is just this, living in the moment, breathing fresh air and driving down the world's most beautiful avenue in an old car. That's enough for me." The cars drove past landmarks such as the Arc de Triomphe, the Moulin Rouge Cabaret and the Eiffel Tower. A variety of vehicles, including cars, buses and motorcycles, could be seen driving across the city. While participants had to give up gathering in large numbers and had to observe social distancing measures, they were still allowed to stop along the 20-kilometre-long itinerary.
Ryanair says it is headed for a record loss. Europe's largest budget airline said Monday that it could lose close to €1 billion in the current financial year. That is just over $1.2 billion. If confirmed, that would be about 5 times its previous worst loss, posted in 2009. The forecast comes after new lockdowns around Europe saw Ryanair passenger numbers slump 78% in the last 3 months of 2020. It now expects to fly between 26 and 30 million passengers over the 12 months to the end of March, down from 149 million in the previous financial year. But Ryanair still sees growth opportunities amid the havoc. It's widely seen as one of the carriers best placed to weather the global travel slump, not least due to a healthy cash balance. As of the end of December, the airline said it still had cash on hand totalling €3.5 billion, or about $4.25 billion. Late last year, Ryanair ordered an additional 75 Boeing 737 MAX jets, marking the largest order for the plane since it was grounded after 2 fatal crashes. The MAX has now been cleared to fly again, and Ryanair says it expects to have at least 24 of them in time for the key summer season.
So far, these were the latest news for today. Goodbye, take care.